Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Growth and Sustainability Committee meeting. My name is Joanne Cheechok, and I'm a councillor with the Township, and I'll be your chair for this evening's meeting. Prior to commencing the Growth and Sustainability meeting, I have a few comments to make, which is comments can be made for members of the public for a matter that is on the agenda, advising the chair during the request to address an item on the agenda section of this evening's meeting. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting for consideration by the committee. Comments received after 4:30 of the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included in the record. This meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the Township's website. We will now do the land acknowledgement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of Niagara, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with the Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Members of committee, are there any issues that need to be declared now as to pecuniary or conflict of interest? Seeing none, if we come upon one in a report later in the evening, you can, of course, advise at that time. There are two public meetings tonight. The first is a consultation meeting under the Township's telecommunication consultation policy for wireless telecommunication facilities. This is a public meeting to provide an opportunity for committee and the public to provide comments on a proposed telecommunications tower submitted by Signum Wireless on 5724 Regional Road 20. In accordance with the Township's telecommunication tower policy, the Township of West Lincoln is required to host a consultation meeting to receive input from the public on the construction of a proposed wireless communication tower. Please note that the establishment of a new telecommunications facility is under the jurisdiction of the federal government, which is the approval authority for telecommunication towers, and requires all proponents of new facilities to consult with the local planning authorities and ensure local protocols and surroundings are considered during the mandated site selection process. The Township of West Lincoln telecommunications policy requires public consultation for any proposal of a telecommunications facility. Okay. In order for us to more clearly understand that, I understand that Robin Shugan will be explaining the purpose and reason for this meeting.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council, members of the public. I will be providing a brief overview of the recommendation report PD-09-2026, as the proponent Lucas Cuff from Signum Wireless is here with us today to provide a presentation for the public meeting. The Township of West Lincoln received an application for a proposed telecommunication tower. Signum Wireless has consulted with the Township for a proposed 60-meter self-supported telecommunications tower with a fenced-in compound area of approximately 140 square meters located on the lands municipally known as 5724 Regional Road 20. The subject lands are designated and zoned for agricultural purposes. The Township's consultation process for wireless telecommunications facility policy states that the proposed sites are to minimize the total number of sites required and is encouraged to use existing structures. Site selection for new proposed sites shall consider maximum distance from residential area, public and institutional areas, daycare facilities, and senior residences, avoidance of natural features, significant vegetation, and hazard lands, as well as to minimize impact on unique agricultural and general agricultural lands. The proposed site is approximately 1 kilometer east of the Smithville urban area. The surrounding land uses are primarily agricultural and single detached dwellings. The nearest single detached dwelling unit is located approximately 101 meters north of the proposed towered site. The proposed location avoids natural heritage features on the southern portion of the property and will not impact the agricultural uses on the subject land or surrounding properties. Telecommunications facilities are federally regulated through ISED Canada. The municipality has reviewed the proposal for the land use compatibility through its consultation process as outlined in the recommendation report. The notice of public meeting was circulated to internal and external agencies as well as property owners within a 120-meter radius of the subject lands. At this time, no public comments have been received. Based on the review, planning staff are satisfied that the proposal has met the township's wireless telecommunication policy and is consistent and complies with the PPS, the township and regional official plans, and the township zoning bylaw.
Thank you very much for that overview. You said the applicant was here and wanted to make a presentation? It would be the appropriate time for them to do so now. If you could just state your name, and we know you're from Signum Wireless. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's on. Okay. Good evening, Council, Township staff, and members of the public attending today's meeting. My name is Lucas Cuff. I am a planner working at Fontour International, representing Signum's interests in the proposed telecommunication facility at 5724 Regional Road 20. Fontour is a planning consultancy company that specializes in telecommunication towers, and we have been hired by Signum to oversee the planning process for this application. So a little bit about Signum Wireless. They are a third-party tower builder that develops shared telecommunication infrastructure. Their towers are designed to accommodate multiple carriers on a single structure, which helps reduce the need for additional towers in the area. On the screen is a simple example showing how co-location can limit tower proliferation compared to having separate towers for each carrier. I'll now move on to the purpose of the proposed tower and its location. Wireless infrastructure supports a range of essential services, including emergency response, voice and data communication, and everyday internet use. To deliver these services, carriers require antenna infrastructure in the right locations, and this tower is intended to support that need. It also provides the opportunity for co-location, including potential use by municipal emergency services. The proposed tower is located at 5724 Regional Road 20 in the Township of West Lincoln. The property is zoned as agricultural, with the surrounding land uses also predominantly agricultural, making the proposal generally compatible with its rural context. The installation will not impact the current zoning or ongoing uses of the property. The tower is positioned at the northern portion of the parcel, set within the interior of the property, and consists of a 60-meter self-support structure with a 144 square meter compound enclosed by a 2.4-meter chain-link security fence. So the proposed telecommunication tower is intended to address a gap in existing infrastructure within the area. Now, this is based on 2024 spectrum data. The closest existing towers to the proposed location are shown on the screen. To the northwest, we have a 60-meter Rogers Communications self-support tower located approximately 3.9 kilometers away. There are also two Bell Mobility operated towers, one located roughly 4.1 kilometers to the northwest and another approximately 5.1 kilometers to the east. Due to the distance of the existing facilities from the proposed sites, co-location is not a viable option. Utilizing these structures would not provide meaningful improvements in service coverage or capacity in the immediate area where the proposal is located. Now on to photo simulations. This photo simulation was taken from the east side of Regional Road 20. about 420 meters away, looking towards the tower. And then this is another photo simulation taken from the west side of Regional Road 20, about 200 meters away, looking towards the tower. So public consultation for this proposal began March 13th, 2026, with a public meeting scheduled for today, April 13th, 2026. And the consultation period will be concluding on April 20th, 2026, for a total of 38 days of commenting. Notices were mailed to 22 property owners within a 180-meter radius of the site. In addition, circulation was sent to the Township and Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada. The notification package was provided in both English and French as per ISED 2022 updates. And to date, no comments, questions, or concerns have been raised. However, the commenting period still remains open until April 20th, and we encourage anyone with questions or comments to reach out to our team or relevant agencies, and the contact information will be provided at the end. Now on to Safety Code 6. Safety Code 6 is a standard developed by Health Canada that sets limits for human exposure to radio frequency energy from wireless infrastructure. It was first introduced in 1979 and has been periodically updated to reflect current scientific research, with the most recent update being in 2015. The limits established under Safety Code 6 are set well below the threshold for any known adverse health effects and are designed to protect all members of the public. Telecommunication equipment on towers typically operates at only a small fraction of the allowable limits. For any additional questions related to health and safety, we encourage you to contact Health Canada directly, and the contact information is provided on the screen and will be at the end as well. Wireless service in the Township of West Lincoln needs upgrading to serve current and future needs. This one tower will be able to accommodate up to 3 carriers, preventing tower proliferation in and around the township. Thank you for listening to our presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cuff.
Thank you.
Don't move. I'll see if there's any questions first. Okay, are there any oral or written submissions on the proposal from anyone else present here this evening? If you'd like to come up and speak, or if it's your intention to put in a written submission, that can be done either if it's prepared tonight or it can be sent to the clerk's office prior to Friday, right, of this week.
I'd like to speak.
Okay. If you'd like to come forward and give us your name and address.
Sure.
With regard, I think I'm going to have to ask Mr. Cub to move.
Yeah.
Now, I apologize.
No worries. My name is Ryan Anderson. I am at 5663 Regional Road 69.
Yeah. Welcome,
I'm,
Mr. Anderson.
Pardon me?
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm about 500 meters away from this tower. I'm not concerned. But I am concerned in a different manner in regards to health. The gentleman that presented, may I ask a question, and what is your schooling and background?
You'll have to do that through us.
Okay.
Okay, so it's right now for you to make comments.
Sure.
And we will take the questions here, and we'll see if we can get your answers, but it's not an interplay today.
I understand. So I'm an electronics engineering technologist. My third year was telecommunications. I know from my schooling that these things give off radiation. They're not healthy. You don't want to live anywhere near one of these things. There's a lot of studies done across the world. Every country's got their own agenda. And in the West, we have a big tech agenda. And I would recommend everyone just take a little bit of look around the world and do some research and see what kind of feedback you get from other countries and other doctors and engineers. What I highly recommend we do is that we take a 500-meter radius around every house, and those areas that aren't within that 500-meter radius around a house, those are your locations for cell phone towers. The range is all over the place, And again, it depends if you've got one carrier or three carriers, what type of radiation is going to be coming off these things. But I've got some articles here, and I will put something in writing for you guys in regards to how it affects your genes, your cancer, the list goes on and on and on. So I just want everyone to be aware of these things and maybe do just a little bit of research in regards to where we should put them. Like I said, I'm 500 meters away. I am on the borderline of being concerned, but I am concerned of my neighbors, and I'm concerned of my community. I'm also make a comment in regards to the location. It's right on Highway 20. It's not down a little side road. This is going to be a staple that everyone drives by when they head into Smithville, another tower, another metal tower for everyone to see. Lastly, I remember seeing something from the town in regards to a bypass proposal. That bypass and roads, to me, and I don't know everything, outweighs a cell phone tower by a lot. So I would recommend or make a comment that the road situation, which tends to be a bigger decision, gets made and decided upon before we look at cell phone towers. And that's pretty much it for me and my comments.
Well, thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay.
You did have a couple questions that I think Mr. Cub could probably address at the appropriate time. But if that's the totality of your presentation, thank you very much.
That's it. Yeah, I don't have much more. Thanks for your time.
Happy you were here. Okay, so are there any oral or written submissions on the proposal from anyone here present? Any additional people? Members of the public should keep in mind that this meeting is anticipated to be the only public meeting, and therefore this may be the only opportunity for you to provide oral and or written comments to the township with respect to this application. Any comments received at this consultation meeting will be noted by the committee in the recommendation to the federal government. Members of the public are also reminded to provide their name and street address for the record when coming forward to the microphone. Is there anyone else here wishing to come forward and speak? Sir. And just for the record, if you could give us your name and address, that would be great. Did you want me to tell them? No.
Yeah, you can. My name is John Matizzi, and I live directly across from the projected tower. That'd be north, straight across Highway 20 and Old Matizzi Road, 180 meters away from that tower. I'm now very concerned about what that's all just said about health and everything else about. Having said that, I think the tower is right on my doorstep, basically, to my home. Not only to my home, across from the highway, but also to my bee yard. So what does it do to my bees? When these things start emitting these electromagnetic things off in the air, my bees are going to go. They're going to die. They're not even going to go down there. They're going to lose their way back to their peripherum of the home, and I got no more bees. So I've got 15 hives right now, and I'm really concerned about that. Not only the health by my bees, and the other thing is, when you put a tower that close to the highway, that light up there is blinking all the time. It's going into bedrooms. It's going into my house all the time. Not just the neighbors, but my house especially, because we're the closest. So I'm really concerned about that as well. And I don't know if my wife wants to say anything. She's over there, Linda. Our eyes are really wide open from the fellow that just spoke before me about these things. So my suggestion is to find another place for that. I nothing against towers, but put them where there's less people, more or a better location, basically. Not close to the highway like that. Not close to homes, especially mine. And we got a few neighbors that are close by, but they're not even here at the meeting, so maybe they don't care. Anyway, that's my say, so thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming forward. We appreciate your comments, and I will ask again in this room if there are any other individuals wishing to speak. Mrs. Mattiese.
My name is Linda Mattiese. I'm John Mattiese's wife. Talking about Mattiese Road, we have young children. There are 6 young children on that road. 2 would be 13, 2 would be 8 and 10, and there's 5 and 6-year-olds. I don't think I would appreciate watching these kids have cancer from radiation. I've seen what happens, and I know what the cancer is like because I have spent 25 years as a personal support worker up in the cancer clinic in St. Catharines watching people dying from radiation, and it's not nice. It's something you should all seriously think about because one day if we keep putting towers, tower here, tower here, tower here, everybody's going to die of cancer. So we eat healthy. We don't eat junk food. We're healthy right now. That tower comes in and I get cancer. Who am I going to sue? And who's going to keep my life? And the children. So that's all I want you to think about is the health here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mattiese. I believe there's someone on the left, on my left. Oh, sir, if you'd like to come forward and give us your name and your address.
My name is John McIntosh, and I'm probably the one they want to throw bricks at because it's not my place. And I don't see a problem with health at all, or I wouldn't do it. As far as the road goes, it's not even close. The road's on the other side of my property. And, well, there's 100 hives of bees on my property, and I talked to the guy that owns them, and he didn't seem to be concerned at all. So he's a professional. If I thought there was a problem, I wouldn't do this. The reason it's on Highway 20, I think, not that I have a cell phone, but I think it's there so people can get better reception. So anyway, that's my piece. Oh, if the people who are upset by this see me at the hardware store with my wife, she's borderline in favor of this. Throw the bricks at me, not her.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Is there anyone else in this room wishing to come forward? Because I'm now going to go to Kevin and ask whether there's anyone in cyberspace wishing to
Not
speak.
seeing any, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, not seeing anyone else wishing to speak. Mr. Clerk, could you please advise if how and when and by what dates this public meeting was advertised?
Proper notice was given by way of email circulation to agencies and mail circulation to all residents within 120 meters of the subject property on March 10th, 2026. Public notice was also posted to the subject property, the Township website, and the Township Administration Building on March 10th, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Members of Council, are there any questions of clarification from the administration with respect to this application at this point in time? I see hands. I saw yours first, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to our director, I don't know if you can answer this, but we do have a cell tower in town right near St. Martin's School, the new build. There's like several hundred units that are destined to be built in that area. So my question to you is there anything different by the proposed cell tower, whatever its purpose is, than what we currently already have within that urban area?
Thank you, through the chair, to Councillor Riley.
Are you basically, are you asking essentially, does that tower provide coverage for this area?
So
Would this,
I'm not looking so much about the coverage, I'm asking specifically about the, I guess, the operation aspect of the tower. So is it very similar to what we already have? I know that there's some comments around concerns about health-related issues, so I'm just trying to figure out how different this is from what we currently have, or if there's any differences whatsoever.
yeah, through the chair, I don't know that answer off the top of my head, but I think we'd have to work with Lucas and Signum to understand what is the best comparison for the towers that are in the area to see if, I guess, relate the impacts. So we can do that before we bring a future report.
Okay. And I'll leave my questions from there for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Maychuk.
Yes, through the chair to staff, have you had the opportunity to look at Health Canada's report as to safety in regards to what is the recommended distance? I'm concerned of some of the comments regarding possible cancer. And within their studies, is there anything related to bees and how the radiation from the tower could impact them as well? Those are my main concerns. And the last one is, I would assume that this would improve the internet service for all of Smithville or most of it, because I know sometimes the internet service isn't the best at times. It goes in and out. But my main concerns are the health and well-being of the residents. So those are my questions as to what is the safe distance, and will it also impact bees and not just individuals?
Through the chair to Councillor Maychuk. So we did not receive any written comments before this meeting. So this is, I think, the first staff are hearing about concerns around bees and other health issues, although I think health issues are probably a fairly common response to these towers. We don't deal too often with these. The last one I think was 2020, 2022 that the township dealt with over in the former township of Caister. So we have not had any opportunity to look at anything Health Canada related. We certainly can, but it was mentioned at the beginning, and we'll emphasize it again. Council is not the approval authority. This is just a opportunity to provide comments and concerns that then move up the chain to the federal government. So that's, at the end of the day, they're the regulatory authority. We have they have an obligation to follow the township's procedure for communicating these towers so that the public have an opportunity. And so we can do our best to investigate those kind of things, but the township doesn't have a lot of control in dictating where these things can go.
Follow-up, Councillor Maychuk? Nothing? No?
The gentleman that presented did a good job, but does Health Canada consult with the regulatory body at the federal level to make sure that towers such as this meet those safety standards? And I don't know if that question's for you or the young man who presented.
Yeah. It's on. It's on. Through the chair. So Safety Code 6, before any equipment is put onto a tower or a rooftop, a third-party engineering team does a Safety Code 6 study on the equipment, and it also takes into account all the other equipment in the area. And then that basically tells them that the equipment, it will essentially be within the range of radio frequency to not cause any adverse health effects. And then that has to be sent to, I don't know if it's ISED or Health Canada, but that gets sent to them for approval before any equipment is installed and operated on.
Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know the clerk said that information was sent out to residents within 120 meters, and you have sent out to 180 meters. So you have exceeded the guidelines that the township even uses. So there's a lot of people informed But my only concern is that if this is a public meeting and we are not allowed to really make a decision on this because it's Health Canada, it's a federal government decision, then can we be assured, Madam Chair, that this serious concern that the residents have will definitely be brought to the attention of Health Canada and they will respond to it before we proceed any farther?
I'll take that question and ask Mr. Borma if he's aware of the exact process, or if not, perhaps Mr. Cupp could provide us with the steps beyond this meeting. You're having trouble with that button today.
I always just double check it's actually on.
No, it's good, because we oftentimes have troubles with them too.
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Rayner, I'm only familiar with the process that, as we have done it in the past, which is we would bring a recommendation report, providing our comments as a package for the applicant to bring forward for their approval process. So once again, we can look back to see how, or we can consult the proper authorities to see how that's done. I would imagine there's nothing that the municipality can do to prevent or slow down a process by trying to obtain information. It's probably, since it's regulated by the federal government, it's not something, you know, they have a duty to consult us, which they have through this notice and this process. But I see our CAO has his hand up and he might have some really good information here.
One thing I have to correct is now I see that it's not Cup, it's Cuff. So Mr. Cuff, at the appropriate time, we'll come back to you. Mr. CAO.
Well, I don't know about really good, Madam Chair, but I'll try. Just to backstop some of the questions around this, these are, in fact, common concerns that are heard when cell phone proposals come forward in different communities. These towers are placed throughout urban areas as well as rural areas, and actually when you begin looking for them, you do end up seeing that they are everywhere. Health Canada does have detailed responses to the concerns of the public on health as it arises from these towers, and we'll endeavor to carry those comments from Health Canada and the CRTC in the recommendation report back to Council to help guide the decision-making process.
Thank you. Councillor Riley. Pardon me, Councillor Rayner.
That's totally Chair, thank you. The only other thing that I have a question about or a concern about is West Lincoln is the largest municipality of the 12 municipalities of the region of Niagara. We are huge. I still can't believe that we can't find an area where we are well beyond 500 meters from anybody because we have farmland throughout this whole municipality. Why we end up putting a tower within 180 meters of a residence when you can drive for 40 minutes from Westbrook all the way down to Victoria Avenue and you see thousands of acres of land with no houses around it. Why do we even go in that direction? Why don't we just play on the safe side and look for an area that's got well and beyond 500 meters so that it's never a concern, even if it turns out to be a reality. And lots of times we don't know if it causes cancer until people actually have it 20 years later, and then everybody around's got it. So why don't we just play it safe? And if there's a concern about radiation from these towers, ensure that these towers are put in all this great big farmland that we have in West Lincoln that would never bother anybody. And of course it's electronic, so it must have a long wavelength span as far as distance it can be used, not as if it has to be in town because it's got a short distance that's effective. I'm sure this thing could probably put anywhere in West Lincoln and would probably function properly and be out of everybody's way and in no danger whatsoever. Even if there is the slightest possibility, we've eliminated that problem. This is.
Thank you, Councillor.
Did the gentleman possibly answer why he selected this spot?
I will go to him now. I was just wondering if you'd concluded your question.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Cuff, can you answer that, or is it something you would take back and respond to us as part of the reply to our staff before we approve the report?
I could answer it right now, yeah. So through the chair, so Signum Wireless is a third-party tower builder, so they get search areas from companies like Bell and Rogers, and these radiuses could be up to 1 to 2 kilometers, even more than that. So, and in doing so, we have our team go out to different property owners to lease land for the tower. Once we get a yes, we kind of just go with that location once it's in the search area, if it's within the search area. So that is why this location was chosen. Our team went to the property owner. He agreed to the lease, and we have the tower. We have the proposed tower on that property. Another thing was the amount of coverage it can provide. So typically in rural environments or landscapes, these towers can provide up to 1.5 to 2 kilometers of coverage. All depends on like topography of the land, the vegetation, the buildings in the area, because all these things do impact the amount of coverage it could provide. Yes.
Councilor Rayner.
Thank you. So really, you could have opted to just have had all the large rural areas, but you happened to put an area that included a possibility of having a tower very close to some residents, but you did that on your own. You didn't really have to do that. You could have picked only open farmland and went to those residents and picked the one you want.
Councilor, I think that question has been asked and answered. You can't place a tower way out in Wellingport. It
Okay.
won't cover.
All right, but this is where I'm coming from. I live out in the country, way out in the country in Caister. I put an 80-foot tower up on my property to get internet, 80 foot. My signal is coming from Caisterville, which is 10 or 15 kilometers away from me. So I do not understand how that is so limited when I have a tower that is picking up from a long ways away, and it works quite well other than when we have storms. So I'm not really sure why this tower's got such a limitation when my tower is picking up from such a long ways away.
Through the chair, technology. Technology is or this telecommunication infrastructure is really complicated and complex. I can't answer why you're getting reception from a tower 10 kilometers away. What I do know is that, in my training for this, was that these towers typically in rural areas provide a certain range of coverage. I could find out more for you and provide a more in-depth answer for you at a later time, though.
I think that, thank you. Councilor Rayner's questions, if there are answers that can be had, if you can provide those to our staff,
Yeah.
they will, if at the time that your report is coming forward, provide us with the additional information, should there be some.
Perfect.
Okay? Don't leave yet. I have a couple councilors who are looking for it. Councilor Bradrick for the first time.
Thank you. Through the chair to the presenter, thank you very much for your information tonight. In Canada, is there a monitoring of the radiation from the towers? And if so, how does somebody access that data?
Through the chair, the only monitoring that I know of for sure was the Safety Code 6 engineering report. After that report is done, I believe there are technical updates just to see it's operating at the correct frequency. But I would have to get back to you to give you a definite answer for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Riley, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple of things here, and I guess maybe just a point of clarity, because I think I heard one thing, but then Councilor Rayner said something that might have taken a slightly different direction through you, Madam Chair, to the presenter. So if I understood you correctly, at the federal level, whatever level it is, they picked an area of land, and somewhere within there, you need a willing host. You need somebody who's willing to come forward. And I think that, to not confuse the equation here, it isn't just someone said, oh, right here, just happen to have somebody who is willing to host a property, and it happened to be within that radius that was allowed. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So the other question, through you, Madam Chair, to, I guess, staff or even to yourself there. So shortly following this public meeting, we have a recommendation report, PDO 9/2026, that's asking for this tower to be supported. And so my question really is, at the end of the day, I guess I'm seeking clarity to, should council not support this at this time because we don't have the answers necessarily that we like to have before we can make an informed decision, what happens, and does it matter one way or another? Because we're hearing at one point this is a formality, and that the federal government's just going to do what the federal government wants to do as far as an agency. So I'm just wondering, should this not be supported because we don't have all the information? What is the next step, and does the next step even exist, or does this just get taken out of our hands because we don't have any authority to make a decision, yay or nay, on this? So through you to any member of staff, Madam Chair.
Right. Mr. Borma, I see you getting your button ready, so we'll go to you.
I would suggest, due to the number of comments that we received and questions we have, that that recommendation of that report be amended, and that a separate report come back with a recommendation.
At a future meeting.
That at a future meeting, correct.
Okay, thank you, because again, as far as the next item is going to be to weigh in on this, and it seems kind of silly if we're putting questions out there, we need answers to it, and then we're going to weigh in. And I guess the second part of my question, Madam Chair, was, should council not support this, hypothetically, what happens? I think I know the answer to that, but just to make it very clear as day, council, we've already heard council can't really weigh into this, so should we not support it? Should we support it? It's just going to be supported, correct, by the federal level?
Through the chair to Councilor Riley, I believe council has that option to not support it, and they'll just provide those comments to the federal government, what they deal with it and how they deal with it. I don't know what weight they put towards council support, and it's probably not a lot, but I think that is a possibility.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
I think I'm going to give Mr. Cuff the chance to perhaps just tell us if he knows what the process goes to, but I think there isn't much, but we can get answers before we adopt the report. So if we don't do it tonight, and I was going to do this when the report came forward, but I would suggest that if now seeing enough sufficient concern and answers that have to be gotten that aren't here, we would probably postpone that report when it comes up. This is a public meeting, we're listening to the public, and if the answers aren't here, we will, when the report comes forward, probably look at an alternate way of dealing with it. But Mr. Cuff, what was it you wanted to say?
Through the chair, I wanted to speak about the municipal and federal. From what I know is that when a municipality provides a letter of non-concurrence, which is basically disapproval, that is sent to ISED, and ISED takes municipal concurrence very seriously. So the only way a communication provider could appeal that, you would have to go directly to ISED, and that is a very financial and long process that you will rarely see any companies, after getting a disapproval from council or municipalities, go to ISED unless it's like a huge need, and without that tower, without this infrastructure, you will see issues with health and safety, or like emergency response, and people not being able to communicate. That said, I do want to also say that Signum would be open to providing that Safety Code 6 report. That could be like an amendment within the letter of concurrence, if approved, that before construction even begins, we would have to provide that report to council and staff for your review as well.
So we're listening to the concerns on all sides tonight, right now, at a public meeting.
Yeah.
And when we get to the report a little later in the meeting, we'll talk about some alternatives and what we've heard.
Okay.
And so we'll leave that to that, and we've parked everything. But I do have still a few questions. So Councillor Maychuk.
I apologize, last question. In my former life, and I could be wrong here, I know when we put up a cell tower in Hamilton for the new stadium, there was some incentives to the municipality. Are there still anything in place where the township might benefit other than better internet service?
Better reception.
Yeah, better reception. Are there any things that come back, knowing that our telecommunication giants like Rogers, they're making a lot of money, and these towers are necessary to improve service, to provide more service. So is there anything that comes back to the township in the way of remuneration when these towers go up, other than paying the lease to the resident that's given approval?
Through the chair, Signum is always welcomes the municipalities to put their equipment onto the tower at a lower cost. I believe it would just be hydro that the municipality would be paying for, but everything like installing it and everything would be at no cost.
Okay. Okay, so we've confined it to table now. The questions around the table have been asked and answered. So I am going to now say, Please be advised that a recommendation report will be brought forward later this evening. If you wish to be further notified of this application and how it progresses, please sign the sheet at the side table near the council chamber door. And this meeting is adjourned at 7:18. This public meeting, I should say. So thank you for everyone for their input. There is a report on later this evening. If you wish to hear anything more, please stay around until that report comes forward. Okay, our second public meeting for this evening is a public meeting to consider an application for a site alteration submitted by Pamela Wood and Daryl Dyke, with their agent Jeremy Brown, I believe, being here this evening. That's for 2814 Caister Center Road, file number 3000-003-26. Under the Township's site alteration bylaw, council must hold a public meeting for the purpose of informing the public for the proposed site alteration. The purpose of this public meeting is to receive comments from the public and is the only opportunity to provide council feedback with respect to the application. It is the function of council to listen to public comments and ask questions of clarification only. It is not the function of council to debate the merits of the application during the public meeting or respond to questions posed by the public during this public meeting. Should the public have any questions on the application, please contact planning staff and they will provide any information being requested. Please be aware that council debate of the application will occur at a subsequent meeting with an accompanying recommendation report regarding the proposed site alteration permit. We stress that at this point no decision has been made on the proposed amendment and any comments received will be taken into consideration by council. Mr. Clerk, will you please advise as to when, how, and at what time this has been circulated as notice?
Proper notice was given by way of email circulation to agencies and mail circulation to all residents within 120 meters of the subject property on March 10th, 2026. Public notice was also posted to the subject property, the Township website, and the Township Administration Building on March 10th, 2026.
Thank you. Our Chief Building Official, Mr. Agro, has been tasked with explaining the purpose and reason for this report. If you could, Mr. Agro, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, councilors, staff, and general public. An application for site alteration permit has been submitted by Pamela Wood, property owner, and Daryl Duddich, business operator of 2814 Caister Center Road, West Lincoln. Bylaw Services received a complaint regarding the importation of material to the property where no permits were issued. Subsequent orders were issued on the property. The owners of 2814 Caister Center Road are now requesting a site alteration to permit 3,000 cubic meters of wood mulch material, approximately 30 truckloads, to the property for wholesale to landscapers and garden centers. The material is being delivered by off-site suppliers. The use is part of a larger operation which requires a zoning amendment. The material being required with this application is on site temporarily and will be sold and removed throughout 3 months request. No permanent fill is requested on site. There is, however, approximately 4,000 to 5,000 cubic meters of wood mulch already on site. The site alteration permit requires a public meeting and council approval. The applicants have requested an expedited approval of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agro. Does council have any questions with regard to clarification from Mr. Agro or other members of staff? Seeing none, is the applicant or their authorized agent present to speak to the application? I believe he's coming forward.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jeremy Brown from Niagara Planning Consultants. I'm representing Daryl and Pam So let me just go through, I have a few words written up to explain the whole situation to you. So the property located at 2814 Caister Center Road is part of the Dudditch family farm. They are part of the local agricultural community through AJ Farm Corp. They harvest approximately 3,000 acres of hay annually around southern Ontario. The mulch barn is a proposed expansion of this existing farm work. The proposed use would be to provide organic livestock bedding and also high-quality mulch to local agricultural and landscape sectors. This business fills a critical supply gap for organic materials, which are currently being shipped in from regions from great distances, usually Quebec, Northern Ontario. From everyone that the owners have talked to, there are no local suppliers of this type of material. Usually it's recycled materials, which include paints, which a lot of people don't want to use in their gardens for obvious reasons. Firstly, I want to address the history of this file, which I believe demonstrates Daryl's consistent pattern of cooperation. So firstly, as it was mentioned by Mr. Agro, they had a site visit in September of 2025 from bylaw, which was to do with a second entrance on the property. When Daryl was notified that he required a permit for that, he immediately applied for it and received that permit. And then there were later visits from bylaw, which identified requirements for some building permits, which he immediately engaged designers and submitted those applications. And then in December of 2025, Daryl proactively reached out and requested a meeting with mayor and staff to discuss his operations transparently. It was during this meeting on December 15th, the zoning non-compliance for the proposed mulch barn was first identified. So it's not as if he had been operating for years and then had been caught in operations. He's actually just planning to start this business, and then in that process of dealing with staff, realized that he's not in zoning compliance. But in order to go through that process, as I'm sure you're all aware, it is a bit of a process to get all the required documentation required for the applications, and then go through that zoning bylaw amendment application. So we are requesting this site alteration permit as essentially a bridge to keep the business viable while we're finalizing the additional planning work. Just some notes. I have 3 notes on the actual site alteration permit portion. Firstly, on transportation. So their property is located along an established transportation route. The Caister Center Road has a direct route through to the QEW. So it's not negatively impacting local roadways, and it is a approved transportation route. Secondly, he is not going to be proposing at all during this period any storefront operations. It's strictly wholesale, so he has his own small trucks that he can use to transport wholesale mulch off the property. And then thirdly, our compliance pathway. We are proposing the rezoning of a portion of the property to agricultural restricted, which allows the garden center use, which is what he's proposing. And we are proposing to have that zoning bylaw amendment application submitted by May 15th, essentially in 4 weeks from today. In order to start that process, obviously there are, like previously mentioned, application requirements, which we are still working on getting everything together for that application. So in conclusion, staff have indicated that the zoning typically precedes site alteration. So typical would be to get the zoning approved prior to requesting a site alteration. However, due to mulch season being concluded essentially by mid-June, without the flow of the mulch coming onto the property, the this startup faces insolvency before its first ever season. Because Daryl has worked transparently with the township since the fall, we are asking for an interim bridge. The risk here is minimal. There's no NPCA objections, no regulated environmental features near the property, and as of today, there have been 0 public concerns raised. In fact, he has ardent support from his neighbors. So we respectfully request the council provide direction to staff today to approve the site alteration permit number 3000-00326. Thank you.
Don't go away. I have a funny feeling there'll be at least one question. Thank you for your presentation. Okay. Do council members have any questions they wish to ask at this point? Councillor Maychuk.
Yeah, just one question. I heard from the gentleman who was just speaking that there was no complaints, but was there any concerns from any of the residents in regards to this work being done in terms of the mulch?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Borma is preparing to answer your question, I can see.
Through the chair to Councillor Maychuk, we did receive numerous reported concerns over the last couple of months. I can't say for sure if it was directed around site alteration, but there are other things going on the property too. So this was identified as an issue when the bylaw staff went on the property. But all this arose out of reported concerns that were submitted to the township or complaints that were submitted. But I can't tell you if it was specific to the mulch or was other site alteration going on the property related to a driveway that they did receive a permit for.
No other questions, clarification at this point? Okay. Councillor Rayner.
Thank you. Madam Chair, to the Director of Planning, it says a site alteration. You just mentioned that there were concerns by other residents when Councillor Maychuk asked the question. Does a site alteration permit address those?
So through the chair to Councillor Rayner, I don't know if I fully understand the question, but what I can say is, and what's written out in the staff's report, is that there are orders issued on the property. So the site alteration combined with addressing those orders on the property would address the bylaw issues on the property. And those orders were related to not permitted use, because the township believes that there's uses on the property which are not agricultural, and that property is zoned agricultural. And the second orders were surrounding building without permits. So it's kind of 3 main issues on the property. Site alteration is the third one, but it falls under the umbrella of that use, that zoning use. As the agent Jeremy mentioned, they're seeking permission for this mulching business as part of their zoning amendment that they wish to apply for. And so that site alteration, it's not your conventional site alteration, it's bringing in wood chip material. But under our site alteration bylaw, fill is any material except for topsoil. So that does fall under our need for site alteration unless it was approved through a zoning. So council may recall last month, it was a little bit different of a situation, but there was a site that imported rock shale, and they received a zoning approval, but they also still wish to obtain site alteration permits approval because it wasn't included under the umbrella of their zoning. So,
Councillor Rayner, a follow-up?
Yes, Madam Chair, just one. Mr. Jeremy Brown mentioned that there is a process normally where the zoning comes first and then the site alteration comes later. But in this particular situation, they want it reversed because of the seasonal nature of this. Does the Director of Planning have any difficulty in doing this in the reverse order? Because obviously the order must have been established for some reason. Does this counter that, or is it workable?
That might be more appropriately asked at the time of our report discussion. This is a public meeting for some clarification. I would prefer that you hold that question if you could.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I do have one for staff. I'm not sure who would ask, but I understand that the rezoning to ag restricted, which allows for the garden center, would have application requirements that will be submitted, but they will be submitted, but will they be cleared by May 15th? Will everything be done by, what will happen on that magic date? There'll still be a process. Sorry.
Sorry.
I don't want to start answering. I'll let you do it.
Sorry, my light was blinking there. So the applicants have indicated they wish to submit prior to that date, and they would follow our standard procedure where once the application is deemed complete, public meeting date would be scheduled. And under our current memorandum of understanding with agencies and under the Planning Act timelines, we're probably talking a July public meeting if it was complete by middle of May, just to meet our 30-day timeline under our memorandum of understanding. And that would just be the public meeting, and then following that would be a recommendation report if everything was satisfied or all the comments received at the public meeting were satisfied. So I know it's complicated also because of said election.
Is there an election this year?
Yes, but that would be our typical timeline. So if something's non-controversial, let's say if this was non-controversial, the public meeting would be held in July, and a recommendation report would be brought in August. And then following that, council would have to ratify that following the meeting. So
we're up against a tight timeline, but if we are not compelling a future council to anything that is a radical change, we might, if we're not lame duck, be able to handle that. But we only have one meeting per month in the summer months, right? And there's a reason for that, because it's also because people are busy farming or on vacation. So we have a lot of things going on, but the timeline is not one that makes itself easily available to a commitment to a submission by May 15th.
That's correct. We usually advise applicants that it typically a zoning amendment will take 3 to 4 months for something that's fairly straightforward. So.
Thank you. I'll leave the rest of my questions until later, but that one I wanted to make clear was that would be a normal application. Putting in an application does not guarantee an approval, and the approval has to go through a process that allows for input from the public yet once more. Okay. So having heard and said all of that, I will ask one more time if there are any questions of clarification from council to the applicant and or staff at this point in time. Okay, so the floor is now open to members of the public to come forward and provide counsel with any oral or written submissions, either in person or on Zoom, pertaining to this site alteration application. When coming forward to speak, please provide your full name, and speakers will be allowed up to 5 minutes to make comments to council, after which council may ask questions of clarification relating to the submission. Individuals are allowed to speak once to each application. Is there anyone here wishing to address committee? Seeing none, I will go to Kevin. Do we have anyone that wishes to do this remotely?
Not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none. Council, do you have any questions or clarifications? This is part of the script. We do make sure that everyone has had a chance. Seeing none. Is there anyone else? No, I already did that. The applicant is now invited to provide any closing comments, to respond to any information presented during this public meeting. So if you wish to make any closing comments, Here's your chance, elsewise we will move on. Thank you. Please be advised that a recommendation report will be brought to a future committee meeting whereby council will debate the merits of this application. No decision will be made this evening to allow administration time to review comments received during this public meeting and provide final recommendations to council. If you wish to be further notified to this application, please sign the sheet at the side table near the council chambers door. Thank you, and I will call this public meeting complete at 7:38 this evening. Those are the two public meetings for this evening. Yo.
I'm gonna run get, I found the key to the third.
There seems to be a heat warning here, and so I see that staff is going to take a couple minutes to try and correct that. I understand, I don't want you to go in. We definitely don't want anybody taking anything else off, so we'll work with this as much as we can. Thank you. We are reconvening the meeting. We have concluded the public meetings and are now back into the meeting of the main. So the next item on the agenda is a change in order of items on the agenda. Is there anyone here at committee wishing to change the order? Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments and presentations. And as the rating of this agenda, there was no appointments or presentations. So we'll move past that and request to address items on the agenda if you haven't had the chance to speak up until now. This section is available to you at every one of our meetings, and 1 hour is in total shall be allocated for this section of the agenda. Each individual person shall only be provided with 5 minutes to address their issue. A response may be provided and the matter may be referred to staff. A person who wishes to discuss a planning application or a matter that can be appealed will be permitted to speak for 10 minutes. Is there anyone here wishing to address an item on the agenda to this committee? Not seeing any. We'll go on to communications, of which there are none this evening. So we'll go to staff reports. And the first item is item GS 12-26. This is a report with a recommendation report regarding the proposed telecommunications tower to be located at 5724 Regional Road 20. The recommendation with that report is that the recommendation report PD-09-2026 titled Recommendation Report Telecommunications Tower for 5724 Regional Road 20 dated April 13th be received, and the application for the development of a new telecommunications tower at 5724 Regional Road 20 be supported. I believe that is the one on the floor. Do I have a mover? Madam Mayor? And a seconder, Councillor Bradwick, I apologize. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Councillor, who are you? I know, Trombetta.
I think, well, Madam Mayor had her hand, but I think you're referring to me, correct?
I'll get you next. Did you want to go first, Madam Mayor?
Well, I actually do, because I think this is the item that we agreed upon in the public meeting should be amended. And so rather than discuss it as it is, I think that pretty much the heads were nodding throughout our public meeting, and we agreed that the public deserved to get some answers to the questions that were asked that we couldn't provide this evening. And so I would like to amend this resolution so that it simply stops at be received, and that we let it come back accordingly to the plan that staff will provide moving forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I intended to do that. I was going to allow other questions, but that's fine. You are the mover of the motion, so if the mover has a friendly amendment and Councillor Trombetta has no problem in dropping the second.
I have no problem, I just have a question afterwards.
Once we've got the proper amendment, a properly amended recommendation on the floor, you are welcome to speak to it.
Yeah.
So that motion now ends at the first recommendation, which is to be received. Now, are there any questions? Now, are there, yes, it will come back at the appropriate time.
But, so, Madam Chair, Councillor Ryder was just asking should it have more, but we can just receive it for tonight, which is what we normally will do, and then it will come back whenever staff is prepared.
And when we spoke with in the public meeting, we did indicate that if we were only receiving it tonight, it would come back after the further research was done, and we would have it before us as a recommendation report at that time. There were some other questions over here, and Councillor Trombetta, and I believe, did you want to have one?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Please, Council.
It's on. Now it's on. Now it's on? Good to go.
It's just the cold wind going through that's caused
Madam
it
Chair,
to freeze.
if it's possible, could I have the gentleman that was for Sigma Wireless come up? I just want to ask
Yes.
a few questions.
Here he comes.
I understand I could have added before, but I just thought of something.
Mr. I'm not really sure that you can do this either. I believe.
I just wanted some logistic questions on the business, and that's all I need to ask. I don't see. But I'm going to ask.
We'll go to
chair.
the clerk and ask
Clerk?
if this is procedurally out of character. Did you want to talk?
It came to thought now. Sorry, it was
Why
late.
don't you guys go?
Through the chair to Councillor Trombetta, while questions relating to the application would have been made during the public meeting, any extra questions wouldn't really be properly addressed through this information report now. And so therefore likely wouldn't be appropriate at this time. However, it would be appropriate at the following recommendation report, which would be.
So you're saying no? It's a yes or no
I'm saying
answer.
no in a very.
That's all I want to hear.
The
Thank you,
short
Madam
answer
Chair.
is this would be an inappropriate time to ask questions to Mr. Cuff. So you're off the cuff, Mr. Cuff.
Thank you.
Is there anyone wishing just to speak to the recommendation as it is here now, which is that this report be received and be brought back at an appropriate time when questions and concerns have been addressed?
It's fine, we can wait.
You have a question?
Sorry.
Mr. Clerk.
To the chair, so the amendment on the floor would be to remove recommendation 2, just because it fully
Correct.
transforms the original recommendation, so therefore this will need to be voted on, and then we can vote on the original.
Correct. You're absolutely
I
right.
just want to make sure. So I have Mayor Ganan and Councillor Rayner moving and seconding the motion.
That was Councillor Trombetta, I thought.
Was it?
No? Okay. Well, if you saw Rayner, then I guess it's
But
Ms.
I have
Council.
my hand up for questions, maybe that's why.
Oh, that's why I chose your name, yes.
With the chair's permission, I can put that on the floor, simply the amending motion, which is that this item be amended to remove recommendation 2.
Excellent. Yes, put that before us, and Councillor Rayner, is your laptop working, or will we be going to you for an indication? Okay. I didn't see if that carried. There it is. Okay, so that motion carried. So now, on the main motion, I did not see any comments further to one that's been postponed to the next meeting. So, seeing no other comments, Mr. Clerk, can you please put forward the motion as amended? And Councillor Rayner will have to indicate. Okay. Sorry, I didn't get to see you. Oh, look at that. Thank you. Yes, I see that now. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving on. That motion carried. So item 9.1 was carried as amended. Item GS 13-26, which is a report brought forward by Mr. Ben Agro, the Director of Growth and the Director of Growth and Sustainability, Mr. Borma. It was an information report regarding site alteration application at 2814 Caister Center Road of West Lincoln, file number 3000-003-26. The recommendation is that information report BLDG-01-2026 titled Site Alteration Application at 2814 Caister Center Road, Concession 9, Part Lot 30, West Lincoln, file number 3000-003-26 dated April 13th, 2026, be received for information. I need a mover and seconder for that. I have Councillor Rayner and Councillor Riley. Sorry, I didn't go to this side. Is there comments or questions that need to be addressed at this time? Seeing none, that is the report, that is the motion on the floor. Mr. Clerk, please. You're talking to him, right? I'm not going to ask anymore. Is there a problem? There's no other problems that we have to face before we declare it carried?
No, but we did learn something about the system.
No, we don't. You can carry it and then.
Okay. So that motion carries. Now 9.3, item GS 14-26. This is a recommendation report about affordable housing, the CIP adoption. The recommendation reads that recommendation report PD-11-2026 titled Recommendation Report Affordable Housing Community Improvement Plan dated April 13th be received, and that Council adopt the Affordable Housing CIP found in Schedule A of this report and pass the necessary bylaws to implement the CIP and designate the CIP area as found in Schedules C and D, and that Council reallocate $95,985 within the planning reserve from the facade improvement CIP program to the affordable housing CIP program. That is the motion before you. I need a mover. Okay, the mayor and Councillor Riley. That is before you for discussion, comment, or concern. I have a question. Mr. Bourma, the council reallocation of the 95,985 within the planning reserve is the entirety of the reserve that we have there for any and all issues that face us with regard to building improvement, facade improvements, if an issue happens, and it would take a number of years for council's current state with tight budgeting to put anything back in to support any kind of improvement within the township. Is that correct?
$95,985 is the entirety of the facade improvement CIP program, which is named that way, but it's actually for the Sustainable Downtown Smithville Community Improvement Plan. So yes, in essence, that is the collective amount that's within the reserve for the Sustainable Downtown a Sustainable Downtown Community Improvement Plan. And so the reason why we have recommended that all be transferred over is for a number of reasons. One of which is in the past few years, the region, who was a partner on those grants for facade improvements and other brownfield improvements and things like that, they've slowly stepped back out of those community improvement plans, and no longer, as of April 1st, they no longer contribute to any matching dollars that are found within our community improvement program. So those programs have become more or less effective now that they're not getting the 25% dollars from the region. And secondly, affordable housing obviously has become a critical discussion in our community and broader communities. And third, going back to the Sustainable Downtown Community Improvement Plan, which the way it shows up as budgeting is facade improvement, which is why it comes up here as that. But we really need to look at those grants again in light of the region now not contributing that money, and a lot has changed in the world of urban design. We have an urban design manual, but it's pretty outdated. I don't think it was necessarily achieving the results for facade improvements in Smithville that previous councils may have hoped for. So with all those things, we in the future, we would like to relook at those CIPs, potentially revamp them to make them something that achieves council's priorities. In the meantime, yes, we have put the whole amount in there. If council wanted to keep some back for other projects in the future, like that's within council's prerogative for ease of this. And we also know there's a demand for this program, which the demand is approximately $120,000. So just keeping that all in mind as well as we process through this. So
thank you. I understand. I think what you've said has just elocuted exactly what I was concerned about. No matter what we do, there's not enough money to go around. So a small business who wants to go into something that needs an improvement in our downtown could be subject to an empty pot if they were to come forward. We are putting it all forward, and there is need for assisted living and various other things in this town as we progress forward. It is a bad decision no matter what we do, because there are small businesses that we don't have an incubator system here in West Lincoln for that could possibly, I look at some new ones that have just opened up in the past little while that had no help from the municipality and are struggling but are certainly succeeding in what they're doing. I see places closing in our mall who are businesses that have struggled. So I just don't want us to forget that there are always many sides to every coin. And no matter how much we give, it will never be enough, at least not in today's day and age, especially since the region, in its wisdom, carved back the amount over the past number of years and now is probably out of the business. So it troubles me, but it's one thing where no matter what decision we make, we are going to have someone who's going to face us asking for something, and the pot will be empty for probably a couple of years before anything substantial is back in there. So I only say that so that we all know that whatever decision we make tonight, it will be difficult, and it has not been made without some thought before we made the decision. Thank you. Are you wanting to speak?
I will, through you, Madam Chair. I think just for members of council, that's something that we need to be mindful of, because we have been asked for probably the last 2 terms of council, this, part of the end of the one in 2016, where I was here in 2016, 2017 into 2018, and then throughout the last term of council and this year. But it's been one of those pieces of low-hanging fruit that we've been able to delete from our budgets over the years to say, oh, well, we can cut that down. I know that our former director was always, putting a small bit of money in, and it was just an easy one for us to take out. And consequently, we're now in the position that we're at. So although we're making this decision, which I think is a good one at this time, we have to be mindful that moving forward, this council, if members return, or the next council, need to be very mindful of the fact that this is something that we can do to help those businesses coming into our community moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the motion on the table is put properly, first and moved and seconded. So unless there is a comment, sorry, I wasn't looking one for Councillor Maychuk, but I'm happy to have you speak to it.
I'm still in the learning phase. I'm going to ask the director, how does this funding help improve or enhance the affordable housing CIP program? Because certainly affordable housing is important, and I just want to better understand how this might benefit the program that could lead to possibly more affordable homes.
Through the chair to Councillor Maychuk. I don't think you're going to be able to say you're new anymore for much longer.
Thank you. I'm glad someone else said it. I think he has. The shine is off that phrase, Councillor.
But this community improvement program, which I just give a shout out to Michelle in the back. She is from Nethery Planning Consultants, who are the consultants that were retained to do this. There's a number of different programs that are under this umbrella, and one of the programs is a municipal fee grant program, which essentially is if you're providing affordable housing, there's opportunity to have your planning fees and or building fees waived. That helps projects that are early on to get going and they have more capital up front. Another project is, or another program under this is related to accessory dwelling units, encouraging more of those and providing benefits there. Family size units, so not only like 1 bedroom or smaller units, but we want to see incentives for larger units as well as units that are accessible. So there's a whole host of different options under this CIP. We are proposing just to start with the municipal grant program, where we would provide those fees granted back at this building permit stage. We believe that would have the most impact, and since this is a pretty big program and administratively we're small, we need to slowly work our way into this program and not take off more than we can chew. And there's limited funds as well, so we don't want to spread it too thin and not see something move forward. So.
It's a tough decision, Councillor Maychuk. So well put, question. And if no one else has a question or comment, I will call the question. You ran in just under the wire, and consider this a good consideration, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the director. This process has been going on for a long time, has it not?
Through the Councilor Rayner, this project started back in November, I believe, October, November. It was in the municipal budget, I believe the year prior to that. So, but this affordable housing CIP started in November, and we had a public meeting, I believe, in February.
So the decision on how the funds will be completely used will happen at a subsequent meeting to today's.
Through the chair to the chair. This is the final report on the matter. So if council supports this report with the recommendations, that is the direction that staff and administration will take in allocating those funds. And administration will get working on, there's several other things that would need to happen. We need to prepare some application forms, which are Nethery Consulting has offered to help us do, and get ready for that first round of applications. We'd open up a window, receive the applications, and award the funding depending on the applications we receive. So this is the last report that council would receive on this particular piece of policy.
Thank you. You right with that, Councillor Rayner? Okay, having answered all the questions, Mr. Clerk, will you put the question? Carries. Okay, so that moves us on to item GS 15-26, a recommendation report on a budget amendment for economic development plan. That the recommendation report PD-07-2026 titled Budget Amendment Economic Development Plan dated April 13th, 2026 be received, and that that committee and council approve a budget amendment to transfer up to $45,000 from the planning reserve and from the development charge reserve to fund the balance of the economic development plan project. I need a mover. Councillor Riley, Councillor Bradrick. Comments or questions? Oh, Councillor Trombetta.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Director Borma. Why? If you can give some background.
Madam Chair, to Councillor Trombetta. Administration was successful in getting a grant through the ROD program. The ROD program formerly was called RED, Rural Economic Development. Now it's Rural Ontario Development Grant. And together with the clerk's department, we submitted some funding requests on the theme of economic development, kind of as a spin-off to the economic development roundtables that were held last year, and a desire and a need to get organized when it comes to economic development, understand what the community needs are, where their challenges and opportunities lie. And we did have this project. We're always looking for alignment between what grants are being offered and what's next, coming up next in our capital plan. And we had an economic development project in our capital plan for next year. So we decided to apply for that funding to see if we could get at least half of it paid for this year. We were successful, so the province would be giving to us up to $40,000 to complete this. But what needs to happen is we need to take that project from next year and bring it forward 1 year, back 1 year to this year, so we can get started to meet the provincial timelines for that project. That original project from next year is 40% development charges, 60% out of our planning reserves. So we keep that same breakdown. But at the end of the day, because of the province's $40,000 grant, we could be saving up to $40,000 on that project. We've included a draft terms of reference for what we submitted to the province to get that grant of what that study would look like. But at the end of the day, we would just really want something that's actionable, project specific. We don't want a lot of fluff and stuff. We just want to know how can we improve economic development in West Lincoln. We want to look at the industrial park. We want to look at the commercial sector in Smithville. And we also want to pay a lot of attention to the opportunities in the agricultural area because we have a lot of new emerging types of uses that our neighboring municipalities are also seeing with like on-farm diversified uses and agricultural related uses. So we just want to also have someone look in at our systems too. Like one of the main critiques is often planning approvals and hurdles there. So we want this project to look at that too. Are we being more restrictive on certain planning things than the province requires of us, or our process is not moving as quickly as need to happen to see some of these economic development things happen? So that in a couple of sentences is the basis of the project and where we're going with that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Boerma. And are there any other questions, concerns? Having seen none, then I will ask the clerk to put the question. I think that motion carries as well. Thank you. We will move on to item GS 16-26, which is a report with regard to the new Township Official Plan Project Award. And the recommendation for that report is that Recommendation Report PD-13-2026 titled Recommendation Report PD-13-2026 New Township Official Plan Project Award dated April 13th, 2026 be received, and that O2 Planning and Design be retained to complete the new township's official plan as outlined in RFP GS-01-2026. Do I have a mover? Oh, Councillor Rayner and Mayor Ganan. Mr. Boerma, can you just tell us the outline of what this is, when this is going to start and how long this will take, please?
Thank you. This is our new official plan. So just to give you some background, last April we received the region's official plan as our second official plan when the region was removed from planning responsibilities. Additionally, the Planning Act requires that every 10 years the township review and create a new official plan, or every 5 years review and update their existing official plan. The majority of our official plan dates back from 1998. Has had lots of amendments throughout the years, but we believe it's time that we get a new official plan, and that would also eliminate the region official plan. So we'll take what we like from the region's official plan and what's necessary. We'll work with our existing official plan and we'll create a new official plan. Lots of consultation processes involved. So our goal is, since it's an election year, we wish to have a lot of the background work done this year. And by September of 2027, we hope to have the final official plan approved by council and submitted to the province for their approval. So it's a 1.5-ish timeline in consideration of the events happening this year, and to ensure that the background work is not going to set direction for what the new official plan will be. Come January, we'll have that discussion about setting the direction. But for the remainder of this year, we're just going to be looking at existing policy and what kind of background reports we're going to get from the current legislative and planning situations we have. So that's the goal, September 2027, to have this project completed.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, will you turn your... Thank you. Having heard that and a motion properly put and seconded, any other comments? If not, I will ask the clerk to call the question. And that motion carries. The next item is item GS 17-26. And it is a recommendation report with regard to the Township-initiated housekeeping amendment to our zoning bylaw 2017. The recommendation is that recommendation report PD 10-2026 titled Recommendation Report Township-initiated housekeeping amendment to zoning bylaw 2017-70 as amended, dated April 13th, 2026, be received, and that the attached housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment and schedules be approved, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the bylaw, and that no further public meeting is required for the consideration of this bylaw, pardon me, in accordance with Section 34, bracket 17 of the Planning Act. Mover. And a seconder, please. Councillor Riley, Councillor Maychuk. Questions or concerns with regard to this? Seeing none. And now it's too cold in here, so we should... Everybody's going to get out of here soon. Call the question, Mr. Clerk. Please. Sorry. That item 2 is carried. Thank you. There is, that is... Microphone again, please, Chair. Thank you very much. That is the conclusion of our staff reports with other business. Pardon me. There is no other members, other business matters of an informational nature in front of us this evening. As to new business, there is none. These would require, there's nothing requiring immediate attention. And there's no confidential matters. So at this time, 8:18, I will call adjournment of this meeting. Thank you.
Just going to a grocery store, it's unbelievable.
Call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I'm Councilor William Riley. I'll be the chair of the Infrastructure Committee meeting tonight. I got to read that comments can be made from members of the public for a matter that is on the agenda by advising the chair during the request to address an item on the agenda section of this agenda. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting for consideration by the committee. Comments received after 4:30 p.m. on the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included in the record, and this meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the Township website. We got our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the land on which we live. At this point, I will look around to see if there's any changes of items on the agenda. Not seeing any. It's a hefty agenda we have here. Any disclosure, pecuniary, or conflict of interest? Not seeing any. We have no appointments this evening. I will go to request to address items on the agenda to our remaining residents in the gallery. Anybody wish to address any item on the agenda? Would you like to? Okay, come up. Yeah, come up, Rob, and just give us. You're no stranger around here, but if you could just, for the sake of consistency, give us your name and the item in which you wish to speak to.
Good evening, members of committee and chairman. My reason for me coming this evening is in relation to the contract you're preparing to award for rehabilitation of some roads here in the township. I notice in the outline the tender, lowest tender at $900,000, that gives you a savings of $250,000, which I think is very good to hear. My concern is that the proposal is to take that $250,000 that doesn't need to be spent and put it back into reserves. If I was the head of finance in the municipality, I would say that's good fiscal management. I want to put that money back in my account. However, if I was sitting in the position of Director DePaula here, who has to look after the assets of the township and the roads, I may be thinking to myself, gosh, there's got to be some other roads out there of all the ones that are deteriorating I'd just love to be able to spend that money on. So my question to all of you is, I'd like to see some discussion. I can't ask the questions, but you can. You know, which kind of good management do you want to have? Do you want to stick with the fiscal one, or do you want to help to maintain some more of the paved roads to keep them from deteriorating for another year? Because I'm quite sure, even though you put that money in the kitty for another year, the roads are going to deteriorate further, and who knows how much more it's going to cost for asphalt in another year. So I challenge the members here to have that debate before, in process of approving the motion to accept that the tender and what you're going to do with those extra funds tonight. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir. And then I'll look around to see if there's any other members in the gallery that wish to speak. No? Go to IT. Do we have anybody in cyberspace?
Not seeing any,
Mr. Chair. So that moves us forward to communications, which there are none. So that brings us to our staff report. It is item ICO 926, that recommendation report IO 826, titled 2026 Road Rehabilitation Project Tender Award, INF 2026-01, Budget Amendment BA 2026-07, dated April 13th, 2026, be received. And that the tender submission be awarded to Walker Construction Limited for the 2026 road rehabilitation work in the amount of $805,643, excluding HST, and that the project expenditure of $900,000 be approved for this project, and that the budget amendment BA 2026-07, reflecting a project budget reduction of $250,000 with reduced funding from the capital reserve be approved, and that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Walker Construction Limited be passed. So at this point, I'm going to look around and see if there's a mover and seconder for this item. Councilor Rayner moving it. I got Councilor Chichek seconding it. And though this item is open, I will go to Councilor Rayner first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's interesting that Mr. Crosby made that presentation because I'm kind of known for doing that every time there's a little bit of money saved, and I usually get shot down in flames, but it's always good to try. I'd like to go through the chair across to Director DePaula. If you were allowed by committee to spend a few extra dollars, do you have a particular road that, in your opinion, certainly would be advantageous to do it this year rather than leave it to further deteriorate and possibly cost a lot more to do next year because you thought the amount that we had was all we had, but now that we got a little bit more, you would really like to do this?
So I will say,
thank you.
No, I'm per the question. I just want to give some clarity that we don't speak specifically to any particular road, but more or less the question, more in a general sense, are there other roads that could be considered? Okay, I just got to make sure that we don't get off track here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, when the tenders came in and we realized that there was a $250,000 savings, through a consultation with our corporate services department and our finance department, they did make the recommendation to put the money back in capital reserves. So we proceeded with that recommendation in this report, and that's what we're bringing forward tonight. In previous years, we have done that, but it was all dependent on how much money was left over. And in discussion with our finance team, just based on the pressures in 2027 through to the early years of the 10-year forecast, there is some pressure on the capital reserves, so that's why they made that recommendation. So we didn't look at particularly what other roads we could do with that extra $250,000 because that's what finance was recommending, based on a fiscal responsibility theme. We could go back and look at that if you'd like, and I could present something in May and see if we could find the road that we can do with that $250,000. But I think it's important tonight to at least award the tender to Walkers with what their current bid is. So I would suggest if that's something that this committee would like us to do, we could go back, talk to finance to see what the impact would be, and if it makes sense financially, then our administration staff in the infrastructure department can look at what roads we can do with that $250,000. It won't be much. Like, you're probably only going to get a kilometer of resurfacing done for that amount.
So 1 second, Councillor. I have the CEO who's going to chime in here, and then I'll come back to you. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, just to remind Council as well, there is, as the reports that Mr. Paula spoke to, there are significant pressures coming at the capital reserve through the remainder of 27, 28, and 29. Council may also remember that in the formulation of the 2026 budget, significant dollars were used as tax stabilization. So there was $450,000 that had been removed from reserve to lower the levy. This will help keep everything whole and the municipality's ability to cash flow in a better stance. So there is a need to restore the reserve somewhat from the spend that we did to offset the levy increase this year. And that degree that we supported a reduction in the levy through the use of reserves was something that we hadn't done in years past. So we are in a bit of a different fiscal stance this year than we had in other years, but of course we are in your hands. If Council would like to see some additional projects, we can return. The other thing to keep in mind is, though, we're likely to not get the best pricing going out for tender at this time of year. I could be mistaken, but I would just think it would be a little bit more expensive potentially, but Mr. DePaula would know better than I.
Through the chair, yeah, what our approach to, if we do decide to do more roads or road, our approach would be to work with the unit prices that we currently receive from the low bidder, and ask them if they would be willing to hold their price to do another road. They may ask for an extra cost just to mobilize their equipment to another site, since that wasn't in the original contract tender. But I wouldn't recommend putting out a new tender, because you probably wouldn't get good pricing. We got good unit pricing with the amount of work that we put out in this tender, so we would ask the low bidder to just extend their unit pricing, see if they're willing to extend their unit pricing, and see what the extra cost would be for mobilization to another road. That's how I would approach that.
Councilor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this was brought up by Mr. DePaula. A light went on inside. It's a little bit late, but the light went on. I had a number of recommendations at budget time to bring the number down to the 1.62, and members of committee and council endorsed using the tax stabilization fund to bring it down to 1.62. So as the CAO said, which is I was going to say, but the chair went to the CAO first, I realize now we got ourselves into a situation where we depleted a lot of money in order to drop that budget down. This is a golden opportunity that we weren't expected to build that back up. I think it would be very prudent of us to do exactly what it was said to do, put it back into the reserve, not worry about the roads right now, because we managed to get the budget down, but it cost us, and now we got a freebie to kind of make up for it. So we shouldn't blow this opportunity to help ourselves out after we put ourselves a little bit in a hole. So I would like to retract that. I think the smart move is to leave it the way it is, because we do have concerns coming up. We did work it well to make the budget low. We had to pay for it sometime down the road, and now we've got a freebie. So let's just be grateful for that, and let's move forward. So I wish to retract that. I think it's prudence right now, and the CAO further confirmed it that this is a gift horse right now that could really help us in a time of need. So let's just do that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I got Councillor Chichuk and then Councillor Maychak.
I can't help but be on the other side of Councillor Rayner's discussion, and I do want to thank our participation from the band of people who are here. But we can always count on getting good advice and good opportunities to look at alternatives to what we have before us. And we thank our public participation in our meetings. So thank you again for being here and for suggesting that. And it's not a wrong thing to do. But I think that if we were to put that $250 out there, the thing we'd have to look at is the entirety of our budget and what is the most pressing priority. So while the road might be the one we want to spend this on because we have a price for our asphalt, what other things? It would be wrong to look at this if this is the true cost for the roads we had put into our budget for right now, and looking at what other things in our budget had to be foregone as a result of us wanting to achieve a lower tax rate, and what priority would actually be the top one. So prudence would say it's a tough decision no matter what we're going to do, and I've been saying that all night tonight, but this one is, again, another thing. It's a small amount of money. It may do a road, but it may be better for us to consider it in the entirety of our budget for next year. So I would agree that this would be most appropriately put back to reserve until we have the entire story.
Are you done, Councillor? Okay, Councillor Maychak.
Through the chair, I'm kind of echoing the same thoughts, but we all took pride in their approved budget, and we kept it as low as possible to make it affordable to our residents. But it was my understanding we had some reservations about how much we took from the reserves, and if this opportunity came up at a later date, certainly we would do all we could in terms of approving some money to go back to those capital reserves. So I'm glad our CAO clarified that, because that, I think, is only prudent and responsible on our part. And we have to look down the road too, if there's a rainy day or capital needs in the future, and it would only be responsible, I think, if we put that money back into reserves.
Okay, thank you. Any other members? Good. All right, so I'll just make my last comment, and then we'll go right to the vote. Yeah, I think right now, as much as we appreciate Mr. Cosby coming up and making that suggestion, I think right now the right decision would be just to kind of hang tight. We also don't know if this project stays on budget, if they come under any unforeseen circumstances, then we're back at a unique situation where now we might have to go back and pull money. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it rarely happens, but it's always a possibility. And just to what members of council are talking about, even with some of the changes we did at the budget, the 11th hour with the budget, there was about 210,000 or approximately 210,000 that was pulled from the stabilization side of things, that this almost completely replenishes. So as much as I think it would have been a really awesome opportunity, we don't know what those other roads could have cost if it would have been more than that, and then we would have had to take more from a situation where we already came under. So I think right now the right direction is what I'm hearing from council here is we'll just hang tight, follow this as written, and proceed as follows, and we'll definitely make sure that this is part of a broader conversation at the next budget, you know, whoever that council is. So at this point, I'm going to go to the clerk to bring the question forward. And that carries unanimously. And that brings us to other business. I'll look around. I'll start with my left to see if any members of council have any information of informative nature to share. Councillor Maychak.
I just want to thank Kiwanis, in particular, our mayor and John and the other members that came out and volunteered on the weekend for a successful bottle drive. I think we did quite well, and just appreciate all the efforts of the residents and members of council who supported it. So thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Nothing, Councillor Tomatta. Councillor Chichak, sorry? Sorry, all the checks and chalks and, sorry.
Well, in a roundabout way, I didn't mention that it was Mr. Cosby who'd come forward with his usual good information and reflective ideas for us to consider when we have extra money in our roads budget. But I do want to mention and congratulate Mr. Cosby. On Saturday night, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Niagara Agricultural Society, and it was an evening that was well attended and an enjoyable one at that. And Mr. Cosby, from myself, and I'm sure on behalf of all of council, we applaud your efforts over the years to keep us on the straight and narrow, and we really enjoy your appreciate your being here and giving us a sober second opportunity to think about the things that are in our budgets. So thank you for that. We hope to look forward to you being with us for many years to come and giving us, as some of us hope to be around, but to give us that guidance that you have in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. And Mayor Ganyan.
So thank you. I also had that on my list of things to make sure that.
But I get to speak first this time.
You did get to speak first. But I will just tell members of council that my comments that I made in terms of presenting Mr. Cosby with his certificate from the municipality, I did talk about the fact that we can count on him being at our meetings and offering some suggestions, making sure that he's looking at agendas and putting in more than just 10 cents worth perhaps. But so that was one of the things. The second one I have is a very interesting thing that I'm doing on Friday, and I'm sorry that Albert has gone, because I have been asked to make a presentation to an older lady who has been fostering children for 50 years. And the reason I mentioned that it's too bad that Albert is gone, it's actually Albert's mother. Oh. And so it came to me, the invitation came through fax, where they wanted to recognize this lady who's been, for so many decades looking after other people's children and taking them in. And that was after that I learned that it was actually Albert's mom that was being recognized. So that's on Friday of this week too. So if you happen to bump into him at some point in time, you might want to offer a word of congratulations through Albert to his mom. But that's all tonight.
Perfect. And Councillor Rayner?
Yes, thank you. I just want to further comment on Mr. Cosby. He has attended just about every budget meeting that I can remember as far back as I can go, which is 2003. And it's so nice to have somebody that really cares, that's looking out for the best interests of the community and takes the time to go through the budgets, which are exhaustive, time-consuming, and at times can be very frustrating, and yet comes here year after year to try to help us to make the right decision. And he's the only one that has got this track record. And it's just amazing to me that he would continue to do this, and it's very much appreciated because, the budget affects everybody. And it's nice when a lot of people show up because it kind of gives us a little bit of compassion that we care, and yet people are here to say we care too. And Rob's always here. And thank you very much for doing that. I hope you can continue to do that. Your input is always appreciated, and don't worry, we'll get these roads done eventually. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, for those who may not realize, Mr. Cosby is a strong advocate for roads and investing in infrastructure. Just about every conversation we have together is about that. So I thank you for, not just being an advocate, but also for your wisdom and your experience as well you bring to all of our meetings and anytime we get to talk to you outside of this. I will mention that just next week, we found out today that our committee meetings next week have been pushed to the following week, so we have no committee next week. It'll go straight to, on the 27th, I think it is, or no, I got the wrong date there. Whatever count, is it 27th? Is council. And so any of those items will be on that agenda. I think there's just one or two, which is probably why the meeting got pushed. And then lastly, I'll mention, because we have no meeting next week, if I'm not mistaken, early next week, we have the mayor's luncheon for those who are attending. So again, hope to see many of you there, if not all of you there. And that's pretty much it for my comments this evening. I'm going to bring it back to here. So I'm going to brings us to new items of business. If there's any new items of business, not seeing any. We have no confidential matters, which then brings us to item 13, adjournment. So I'll adjourn this meeting at 8:43 p.m. Thank you guys very much. Have a great night.